Hey guys, Kellen back here with Inside Out Precision, and a couple weeks ago we did a video on index style releases and kind of the different styles that are out there, as well as just a couple of the brands that we carry here. I had a lot of good positive feedback from that video, but a lot of you were asking when we would do a video on handheld releases, both thumb and back tension. So we finally got some of the ones that we're carrying this year into the shop here. So I thought I'd do a little video today on kind of why some guys prefer thumb release over an index style release, and then what to look for based on what you're going to be doing, whether it's going to be primarily a target release or you're going to use one for hunting, or maybe one that you're going to do both with. There's a lot of different ones on the market. There's a lot of different brands. I don't have a huge selection of brands here, but I do have the styles that you can find in almost any brand. So jumping right in here, the first thing I'm going to start with is, this is a really common hunting style thumb release. So this is the True Ball Boss X, and what makes this more particular to hunting versus target is that it has the jaws that will actually close around your string loop. So one common complaint with thumb releases for hunting is that a lot of times guys keep them in their pocket, or they don't have it on a wrist strap, so it's just floating by itself. And if you're not really cognitive of where you're keeping that release at all times, in the heat of the moment, you're going to be scrambling looking for that release. So it's nice to have one that will either be on a wrist strap around your wrist here with the little cord connecting it, or one that you can actually hook onto your string or your string loop so that it's just always with the bow. I've heard a lot of horror stories where guys are out in the backcountry and they sit down to eat lunch and they set their release on a log and they pick up their stuff and walk off, and then they set up to call and they realize they don't have a release. So that can be an issue with a handheld if you don't have a wrist strap or jaws here that will close. This particular release is what I would call a pretty bare bones thumb release. It cocks with this mechanism right here. So this little silver button here, I push that and see that closes the jaws. And then when I get back into my anchor, my thumb comes around that button, and as I pull through and squeeze that handle into my thumb, it fires. You can make this right or left-handed just by adjusting this little screw here. I can undo that and flip this to the other side. Generally speaking, you want that peg facing away from your face. That way your hand can just come in it to a natural position, whereas if it's on the inside, you kind of got to bring that thumb in like that. Some people shoot it like that, but generally you want it facing away from you. This is a pretty affordable release. These sell for like I think we're selling these at $116. So pretty easy to use release. Like I said, it just clamps right onto your string. The only downside to this one is there's a little bit of noise on that trigger there, and with a little more expensive release, you're going to get rid of that click. But generally speaking, a thumb button like that is going to have that little click when it releases, because there's a spring on a sear in there. When it gets to a certain point, it unlocks. You can adjust the trigger tension as well as the travel with these. And generally speaking, in any release in a thumb button, you're going to want to get as much travel out of the trigger as possible. Just like the index style releases, I don't like feeling that peg move before it actually fires. So you can adjust this to where it's a really hair trigger with no travel, or you can adjust it to where I can really get my thumb around that thing, bear down on it pretty good, and pull through, anchor in without worrying about it going off, which is how I kind of prefer to shoot them. So again, that's the Boss X by True Ball. Pretty bare bones release, but a really nice one. We've sold quite a few of these. The next style this is another hunting style, and this is made by Hot Shot actually, and we got this for guys that they like shooting a handheld, but the problem that I was just explaining about not having a wrist strap, this one comes with a strap, and which just means it's one less thing you got to go out and find and buy. It also comes with a little spot here where it connects, whereas the True Ball, there's really no place to connect a wrist strap to this. So if you wanted to attach this to your hand somehow, you'd kind of have to jerry rig maybe something through this little slot right here that you could keep around your wrist, but I wouldn't really want anything connected to that while I'm shooting. So this one you'd be forced to basically either keep in your pocket or connect to your string, whereas this one is just going to hang on off your wrist just like a standard caliper style release or index style release. So again, you've got an adjustable thumb peg here, so I can adjust this, focus it on that. I can adjust this forward or back, and then I can also turn the peg itself to give it an angle. So I can really get a customized feel of where I want it, and everybody's gonna run them a little bit differently. Some guys like them further back in their thumb, other guys like it more on the pad of their thumb. It's really just gonna be an individual feel of what you like. So it's nice to have a little bit of adjustability there. This one is probably the simplest mechanism that we have. You just pull the thumb trigger and it opens your jaw right there. Focus on that. And when I let go, it closes. So it's quiet. You know, there's no noise when that jaw opens. It doesn't click like the True Ball one did. And just a good, simple release. It's comfortable. You know, I could hook it onto my string when I'm sitting there, if I'm sitting in a tree stand or a ground blind, and it's gonna stay there. It's not gonna fall out. Obviously you have the wrist strap, so it's not gonna, you know, fall too far, but you know, the less noise and movement, the better. So cool release by Hot Shot there. This one is actually called the, what is this one called? The Hot Shot, the Haze is what this one is. New one by them for this year. Again, really affordable, comes in just over 100 bucks. Good thumb tension hunting release. Now, the next thumb release we have, this is the Stand Perfects. And while you could easily use this for hunting, it's got the little place here to attach like a cord or a wrist strap that could go around your wrist. This is a higher end thumb release. So you're gonna see more guys shoot and target with this probably than hunting. In terms of adjustability, this release truly has it all. So you can see the break in color here from the metal piece to the black here. So this actually comes with you can make this a 3-finger, or in this case it's a 4-finger, by removing this little pin and then this set screw down here. And I can make this, it comes with a 3-finger attachment, or I can make it this 4-finger attachment, or if I wanted I could not shoot either and use a 2-finger attachment. Another cool feature is that it comes with 5 different length pegs here. Camera there, come on camera. I don't know why it's not wanting to focus there. There we go, 5 different length pegs here, as well as different size thumb barrels. I can move them, you know, up and down, back and forth, and then this thumb barrel will twist to any, and again, it comes with a smaller one and bigger one, so I can move it and really customize it however I want. Again, some people, they like shooting it more out towards, you know, the front of their thumb, kind of in that first knuckle. Other guys, they like their hand in that same position, but they want that peg to be back here, and they actually fire it more with the pad of their hand, or the pad of their thumb here. So gives you a lot of options in adjustability. It's got a really clean release on it. There's no movement. And again, you can adjust that as well. You can adjust the travel as well as the tension. And you can get this really hair trigger, or you can get it, you know, pretty darn stiff to where it takes quite a bit of pressure to get it to fire. Again, totally individual preference on that. I'm not here to say what's right or wrong. Most guys are kind of somewhere on the stiffer side, but other guys like it really light to where they come in, and as they aim, they just start pulling that handle into their thumb, and as soon as it touches their pad, it goes off. Personally, I get a little jumpy like that, but it is what it is. One feature of this that I really like is they have what's called the trainer lock. So I can take out this little pin here on the end of the thumb barrel. Yep, there it goes, come on. This little pin on the end of the thumb barrel, and I can actually screw it into this little hole right in the middle here. And what that does is it locks this hook in place. So even when I click the release, when I'm pulling and it fires, the hook will not open. So what you can do is, you know, if you're at home and you can't actually shoot or something, I still wouldn't recommend doing this without an arrow. I would load an arrow, but what it allows you to do is actually hook up to your bow and go through your entire shot process without the bow ever actually firing. So you can really play around with your hand position, you know, how you're pulling through the shot, thumb barrel position, and get a really good feel without having to be at the range. They also have this on all their handheld like back tension releases, or not all of them, but a lot of them, and it's a really cool feature. So that's a really cool one. It comes in a small, medium, and large. This is actually a large. I don't have giant hands, and the large fits pretty well. Although I will say, I generally think a little smaller release is easier to get your fingers to relax. If your fingers are really spread out on it, it's hard to get that hand to relax, and it's hard to manipulate that release in a way that'll get it to fire. So I like being able to get my fingers, you know, fairly close together, get that palm and the back of the hand nice and relaxed, and then it's easier for me, especially with a hinge release, to manipulate that release to get it to fire. So, you know, this really, anybody can shoot this release. Little kids, you know, women, small guys, big women, whoever it is can shoot this release. So really popular one by them. Scott also makes a bunch of handhelds. I don't have a Scott handheld here, or at least a thumb button with me, but they make a bunch of good ones as well with basically all the same features as what I just went over. So what I do have is a Scott hinge, and this is actually my personal release. This is the Black Hole 3. This release is old, but I love it because it's very, very simple. There are no springs in the mechanism here. There are no bands to keep this hook down. It's literally just a moon and a hook there. And when I, you know, with this little screw here, I can set the travel basically of how far this thing rotates before it fires. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the hinge, there's no trigger on a release like this. This thumb peg is merely just so when I draw, I don't over rotate it and punch myself in the face when it goes off. There's a lot of different hinges out there. Most of them are gonna have very similar features to this, although a lot of the newer ones have micro adjustable travel, whereas with this one, I gotta loosen the screw and just try and manually move that a little bit, which is a little bit of a pain, but generally after, you know, you get it set, you're not moving it around a lot. It's locked in place. Again, you can make it right or left-handed just by putting this peg on a different side. And this, I have it set up with no click, and for those of you who don't know what that means, most hinge releases, when I draw back and I come to my anchor, as I start to pull, I'll get to a point where there's a little click, and that tells me that that release is about to fire. It's, you know, just a short distance until it actually breaks clean. This has the ability to have a click if I flip this little moon over here. And the moon is this little piece right here. Come on, focus. So if I flipped that over to this side, it would have a click. I personally don't like the click because I'm aiming, everything's good. I hit that click and I hang up for a second rather than just keep on rolling through the shot. Lots of people prefer the click because it tells you like, hey, it's about to fire, and it avoids, you know, something shooting too early. So this one has the option of doing that. I actually don't think they make the Black Hole anymore, but you can, I know you can find them online still, and just a really good simple release. I love the way it fits my hand. It's just comfortable. So that's a hinge style release. These are not, I would not ever hunt with one of these personally. We'll get into shot execution in a couple videos later this week. But there's kind of a point of no return with these releases, and the way that they're fired, you know, they're designed to be a smooth shot from start to finish. So, you know, if I'm at full draw on an animal and I'm pulling through that shot, and it's about to break, then all of a sudden that animal takes a step, it's hard to just freeze everything. I basically have to either let up and restart, or, you know, roll that back forward to where I know it's not gonna fire, wait for them to step out, and then start the whole process over again. So that's kind of a downside to them for hunting. Or you get to a point where, you know, again, it's like right at that last second that animal takes a step and you're at the point of no return and the release fires and you miss. So I personally would not use a hinge for hunting, though I think they're a great way to learn how to just aim and let that bow go off. I actually shoot a thumb release the same way I shoot a hinge release. The only difference being my thumb is pegged on the trigger with a thumb release. So as I roll through that shot, it pushes this handle down into my thumb and it breaks. But again, not a real popular hunting release. The next release I have, this is a hinge as well, but this one's a really cool one. This is the Sweet Spot Pro. It's made by True Ball. It's got the brass handle like the stand. It's got a 3 and a 4 finger attachment here, so I can make this a 3 or a 4 finger. I can also adjust the pitch of these fingers, so whether I want them, you know, a little swept back or more straight. And the coolest part about this is it actually has a safety. So a lot of people get worried when they're starting with a hinge that they're gonna punch themselves in the face because they're drawing the bow. They don't realize it, but they rotate that handle too far and it fires, and boom, they hit themselves in the face, bow goes flying, arrow goes flying. And so what happens is people get really tense. They get a death grip around this release when they draw, and then they get back and they're so afraid that it's gonna shoot before they're ready that, you know, their hand is tense, they've got a fist around it, and they can't manipulate it at all. Well, this has a safety. So when I go to set my release, I click that safety up, and now this whole mechanism can move freely, and that hinge will not fire. Then once I get into my anchor, I click the safety off and I start pulling and it fires. And what's cool about that is that no matter where the handle position is, if I start here and I click the safety off, it's still gonna travel the same distance before it fires as if I have the handle here when I click the safety off and start rolling through. So it's a really, really good training device. All the kids that I coach and people that I give lessons to who wanna learn how to shoot a hinge, I start them with this one because it's just a safety blanket for them, basically. They know they're not gonna punch themselves in the face with this. So, like I said, I'm gonna get into a video on shot execution and kind of how to practice executing these releases. They do take more practice, in my opinion, than say an index style or caliper release. But lots of guys feel that being able to get their hand just slightly tilted up towards their face like this relaxes their back half a little more and they can pull through the shot better. So, you know, lots of cool features on these. If you haven't tried one, I suggest maybe going down to your local shop or coming by here and we can set you up and let you try one. Really good way to shoot. I hope that answers some of the questions that you guys have on these. Again, if you have any questions on the features of any of the releases that I showed or just in general, please feel free to comment below or shoot us a DM on Instagram at inside_out_precision. And I'll do my best to get back to you in a timely manner and get you the information you need. So until next time, remember, precision is a decision, and I'll see you on the range.